frequently see news reports of judges invalidating a presidential executive order or overturning laws passed by state legislatures. In this video, we will examine the pushback against activist judges as we learn how we got here.
In the book Judicial Tyranny, the chapter titled "It's a Judge Issue," Phyllis Schlafly described justice's usurping power. 20th century judges developed the notion that when they put on black robes, they became wiser than the rest of us and can reign supreme over the other branches of government. These supremacist judges developed the theory that our written constitution is a living and evolving document, that they have the authority to interpret it any way they choose. The idea that whatever some judge says is, quote, the law of the land, unquote, began during the regime of Chief Justice Earl Warren. Since Earl Warren's erroneous pronouncement, a couple of generations of law students have been taught this heresy. Phyllis Schlafly continued, liberals promote this theory very enthusiastically because it rationalizes the way activist judges impose policies on the American people that our elected representatives will not vote for. The supremacist judiciary is the liberals' way to bypass self-government. Phyllis Schlafly continued her explanation. The Founding Fathers did not write a constitution that set up a judicial oligarchy. They gave us a government based on separation of powers. The mighty power of government was divided among three branches of government. Nothing in the U.S. Constitution justifies judicial supremacy. Justin Evan Smith, writing for The Federalist, March 21st, 2025, stated, there is precedent for presidents pushing back against judicial overreach. Abraham Lincoln ignored a Supreme Court ruling in 1861 when Chief Justice Roger Taney attempted to block his suspension of habeas corpus during the Civil War. Andrew Jackson famously refused to comply with a Supreme Court decision in Worcester versus Georgia, arguing that the executive branch, not the judiciary, was responsible for enforcement. The executive branch is not bound by a lower court's political ruling, especially when it directly interferes with a lawful executive function. The real threat to democracy is a judiciary that believes it alone has the right to decide what is the law. President George W. Bush stated, March 3rd, 2004,
we will not stand for judges who undermine democracy by legislating from the bench or judges who try to remake the values of America by court order.
What is the remedy to judges usurping power? Article 3 of the Constitution states, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain. In other words, only the Supreme Court is created by the Constitution. All inferior courts are created by Congress, which also has the power to limit or abolish them. Phyllis Schlafly continued in Judicial Tyranny, the Founding Fathers, in their wisdom, gave us the solution to this dilemma. All federal courts, other than the Supreme Court, were created by Congress, not by the Constitution. Whatever Congress creates, it can uncreate or regulate. Congress can decide what sorts of cases the federal courts can hear and not hear. Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the power to define the jurisdiction of the federal courts. There is a long record of Congress limiting or withdrawing the jurisdiction of the federal courts over specific subjects. This power has been used dozens of times throughout our history. Several years ago, Senator Tom Daschle got a bill passed by Congress to take away jurisdiction from the federal courts over brush clearing in South Dakota. He didn't want environmentalist lawsuits interfering with the way they fight forest fires in South Dakota. Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner's Real ID bill that passed the House takes away jurisdiction from the federal courts to hear environmentalist challenges to the completion of the fence on our southern border near San Diego. No one challenged the constitutionality of that jurisdictional provision, limiting the jurisdiction of the federal courts over subjects where we don't trust the supremacist judges is the #1 way to curb the imperial judiciary and requires only a simple majority vote in both houses of Congress. Schlafly added, in late 2004, Chief Justice William Rehnquist included in his annual report one significant sentence. There were several bills introduced in the last Congress that would limit the jurisdiction of the federal courts to decide constitutional challenges to certain kinds of government actions. Rehnquist's report implicitly confirms that Congress has the Article 3 power to limit jurisdiction on constitutional issues and take away from the federal courts the power to continue to do the sort of damage they have been doing for the past several decades. David Gregory, writing for Liberty One News, March 19th, 2025, quoted law professor Alan Dershowitz.
I think Congress can do more to facilitate the exit of these bad guys, and they should do more. And they can also do more to curtail the jurisdiction of courts.
October 15th, 1991, during Senate confirmation hearings, Senator Thurmond asked Clarence Thomas about judicial activism, to which Thomas replied, the role of a judge is a limited one. It is to interpret the Constitution where called upon, but at no point to impose his or her will or opinion in that process. I hope this examination of the constitutionality of judges limiting those elected to carry out the will of the people was helpful. God bless you.
The Constitution wisely divided power into three branches, but the judicial branch has been encroaching on the legislative role of making laws and the executive role of enforcing laws. Washington warned, "Let there be no change by usurpation, for it is the customary weapon by which free governments are destroyed." In other words, if the Constitution needs changing, let it be done through the amendment process, preserving the will of the people rather than through the opinion of an activist judge. I hope you've enjoyed learning how we got here. For more information, visit AmericanMinute.com and TurningPointEd.com.